Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from No Material 4161. It says, am I the arsehole for not letting my neighbors access our pool? And everyone like this in a while. My spouse, 45, and I, 46, bought a house on February with a pool. It's a non-HOA single family home. We keep for ourselves, have friends over occasionally, and we enjoy having people over for food, drinks, and of course, swimming pool parties now that the weather allows for it. We fit in the neighborhood, or so we thought, until neighbors from 3 surrounding homes and us got into a weird conversation around their expectations to access the pool for weekend and holiday pool parties. Cheeky bastards. Apparently, the owners before us had kids and were friends with the neighbors' kids. The neighborhood kids and adults would use the pool when they wanted to. The gate was always open and they even had their inflatables nearby and had arranged paying for the maintenance of the pool. We told them that we're fairly private people and enjoy our privacy and don't see ourselves letting neighbors having access to our backyard whenever they want. Each time any of us are wandering around outside, they just ask over and try to sell the idea of having access to it. They offer money and sharing the maintenance fees and such. I was trying to enjoy gardening and was cornered once again. I just really firmly told them that they really need to stop talking about the pool each time that they see us, stood up and left. As I was walking back towards the gate to the backyard within our property line, they were following me and talking my ears off. One of the ladies/mums was still going on and on because she asked nicely and offers to pay for the maintenance and that she really didn't understand why I was so against it. I turned around and asked them to leave now and never follow me on my property ever again. We politely decline over and over, and we are seriously getting tired of the nagging and the pool and their access to it being the only thing they want to connect with us about. It's not like we created a bond or anything. All convos are about the pool. We had a party yesterday evening and I was showing the front yard to my friend. My neighbor popped up and was talking about how it must be nice to be invited to enjoy the pool. And I said to her, can you go now? I'm having company. Am I the arsehole for not wanting neighbors to have access to my property and seriously losing my patience with their expectations? I can't lie, that did make me chuckle when Opie said that the neighbor popped up. I kind of just imagine their little head popping up behind the bushes saying, oh, it must be nice to be invited to enjoy the pool. But the absolute cheek of these people is unreal. Imagine buying a house and having multiple grown adults basically telling you, great, now hand over access to your backyard and pool because the last owners let us. It's such a wild thought process. Not ask once, not politely test the waters, but repeatedly cornering them, following them around their own property, interrupting parties and acting offended because they aren't entitled to private access. And her popping up saying it must be nice to be invited would absolutely send me over the edge. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Shark Vader 1 from the Neighbors from Hell subreddit and says, neighbors' dogs constantly unleashed and pooping in my yard, and neighbors don't clean it. I've been dealing with very rude and entitled neighbors who constantly let their dogs out in their front door unleashed and unsupervised and just let them roam around and poop in their neighbors' yards. I've gone to their door several times to politely ask them to pick up after their dogs and prevent them from going into my property unsupervised. The bigger dog actually has gone in my garage and also runs up to my toddler's face. Each time I politely ask them, they are dismissive and rude. This most recent time I asked the husband, he started yelling in a rude tone that I don't want to deal with this and repeating over and over that it's just poop. Cheeky mother trucker. This made me realize that I could never come to an understanding with these people, so we developed a plan and went no contact with them. I set up a camera and filmed their dogs over a month going on my property, pooping, not cleaning up their waste, going in my garage, running up to my toddler, etc., all while unsupervised and unleashed. I then reported them to the HOA with all the evidence. The HOA gave them a warning and this made them extremely angry. We could hear them screaming in their house after they got a warning, probably yelling insults at us. The husband then went on the neighborhood Facebook page and posted a threatening and racist rant about us. He called us ugly and disgusting for reporting him and said we should move back to where we came from. I forwarded this to the HOA, but they said they could do nothing about the Facebook page because it's not an official page of the HOA. The admin of that neighborhood page did delete his post and then posted the rules to everyone in direct response to his posting. A few days later, I caught their dog on camera again. I forwarded this new video to the HOA and the president personally went to their door. He spoke to the husband and talked to him about the Facebook post and warned him that if their dogs violate the HOA rules one more time, then animal control will get involved. My HOA president told me that he said he was drunk when he posted that on Facebook. The husband then posted a half-assed apology on the Facebook neighborhood group saying he was out of character. It wasn't even directed at us. I think he was just trying to save face because he embarrassed himself in front of the entire neighborhood. Not even 30 minutes later, his wife texts my wife the longest, most hostile and manipulative text I've seen in my life. In that text, she had several demands. She demanded we forward all her videos we sent to the HOA. She demanded we stop involving the HOA. And she wants us to apologize for telling the HOA that her husband posted a racist post on Facebook. She also called us the hostile ones. The irony, right? And played the victim, saying we're evil for reporting her to the HOA and trying to take away her dogs. The following night, her husband paced back and forth in front of our house testing our camera. He said to someone off camera, probably his manipulative wife, "Yeah, it's on now," referring to our camera. Because of this, I bought 2 more cameras and will be mounting one in the back of my house and one on the side of my house, watching my AC unit in case they try to damage anything. They also have a bad history with many people in the neighborhood, but I won't get into that because this post is already getting too long. A commenter said to the OP, I would give the text message to the HOA and them testing the cameras. To be honest, the testing of the cameras with the racist rant and the text message, I'd file a police report. Nothing will likely come of it, but you're just creating a paper trail in case something does happen. I'm sorry you and your family are going through this. I would see it through to the end though. OP says, yep, I did send the text to the HOA. I didn't send that video of testing the cameras, but maybe I should. Luckily, since the testing of our cameras a few days ago, nothing has happened, but I thought that was extremely odd and makes me think they're planning something. Nub says to the OP, start throwing the dog shit on their porch. OP says, as tempting as that is, I don't want to give them anything they could use against us to play the victim, which, you know, absolutely fair play. Someone else says, there's other similar posts of responses like this. Get motion activated sprinklers to soak them. Oh, that's a Mrs. Bucket reference, right? Absolutely loved that story. Another commenter says, okay, I used to have a neighbor who would allow his large dog to poop in my yard. After ignoring my demands that he stop allowing this, I decided to handle it myself. I waited a week and then loaded up a snow shovel full of his dog's poop and dumped it on the hood of his car. The dog never went in my yard again. The HOA seems to be a bit limp in their response. Why not contact animal control or police? Is there a leash law? Since they are playing the victim, why not post videos of their dog pooping in your yard and them testing out the cameras? Dopey did update the post and says, hey everyone, just want to give an update after my last post, and shared the link. And says, so after I reported my neighbor to the HOA for constantly letting her dogs poop in my yard without picking it up and not leashing them, things technically improved. They're now leashing the dogs and picking up the poop. But she's now doing something even weirder. She's bringing her dogs specifically to my lawn to poop and then immediately going back home. She doesn't walk them around the neighborhood or anything. It's like she's deliberately making sure her dogs only go on my grass. It's so petty and bizarre. It's not like she's leaving the poop anymore, but it feels intentionally targeted. Is there anything I can do about this kind of behavior? It feels like harassment at this point. Has anyone dealt with something similar or found a way to deter this without escalating it too much? The top commenter said on this one, automatic sprinkler time. And many of the comments are talking about trespass, others talking about sprinklers, others talking about using glitter. It's just so grim, isn't it? Why are they so petty? Just get on with your own lives. You're not busy enough. And someone just says to hose her whenever she comes across to your yard to let the dog shit in the garden. All I can think of is rubs the lotion on the skin. She gets the hose. But what do you guys make of this situation? What would you do in it if it was you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's have another story. Now, our next story is from the Entitled People subreddit and says, entitled, sister-in-law thinks lying to her exes in order to get money out of them is a valid career. Bloody hell. My sister-in-law, 19 female, let's call her Jill, is extremely spoiled. She's tall, beautiful, and charismatic, which she constantly weaponizes. My in-laws are some of the best people you'll ever meet. But if you asked her, they're horrible, manipulative, and they kicked her out the moment she turned 18. In reality, Jill left of her own accord and moved in with boyfriend number 1, 18 male. She left boyfriend number 1 after he refused to buy her a high-end purse. Keep in mind, he was also 18 at the time and had been buying her everything she wanted up to that point. Jill had a new boyfriend, boyfriend number 2, no less than a week later, one of boyfriend's number 1's friends. The cycle began all over again, and after about 3 weeks of dating, boyfriend number 2 refused to pay for her next tattoo. Then I get a call from her telling me about how abusive he is, and so my husband and I offer to allow her to move in with us. She refuses the offer but does ask if we'll pay for her new apartment rent. We decline, but we say she can always stay with us. Back in October, she also got married in secret to a military man, 19, but left him about 4 months later after he refused to make their marriage open. After that, according to her, he became very abusive because he wouldn't let her take his car. This cycle keeps happening, and at this point, she's now officially broken up with boyfriend number 6. She finally agreed to move back with our parents, but only under the agreement that she gets a job, which she has not had, and then she remained single for at least 3 months so she can just focus on herself. After an unrelated mental health crisis that I will not get into, her mother was granted access to Jill's text messages and emails, and this is where things take a turn. She discovered that over the last 2 years, Jill has not only been in contact with boyfriends 1 to 6 and her ex-husband on a regular basis, but has also been consistently mooching off of them and lying to them in order to get money from them. She's told them all everything from wanting to get back together to being homeless to needing to escape whatever relationship she's in. She's managed to rack up hundreds and possibly several thousands of dollars from these men by making false promises, and the worst part is, she's told them about her family, including me and my husband. The family that's never done anything but support her and love her and offer her a safe place. We all managed to sit down with her and express our concerns with her behavior. Her mother, who is no pushover, told her that if she wanted to keep the car they've been allowing her to use, and for her parents to keep paying for her phone bill, and in order to keep living under their roof rent-free, she needed to give back all the money she's stolen from these men. Jill erupted. She started going on about how all of these men were abusive and that the least they could do was pay her for the mental anguish she had had to deal with. That's when I decided I couldn't take it. I had to get up and leave the room because if I didn't, I was going to say something I'd regret. The meeting ended when Jill stormed out of the house, got in her parents' car and left. My husband told me that basically Jill broke down crying and tried to convince her parents and him that what she was doing was her livelihood, her career. That she is too pretty to work in fast food or in a retail setting, so she sees swindling her exes out of money as a perfectly legitimate way of earning a living. While she's not obligated, I guess, to give that money back, it's completely scummy and immoral. Her parents are horrified. They told her that if she didn't give what money she could back and start seeking professional help, then she'd be cut off financially and from the family basically altogether. It's been a few days now and Jill has been all over social media talking about how abusive her family is now. How they stole her savings, aka made her give back the money she took. I've wanted to respond to these posts to set her straight but refrained from doing so at my husband's request. Last I heard from her mum, Jill's given what money she can back to the exes and cut off contact with them, but I guess we'll just see how long that lasts as apparently she's already found a new boyfriend and plans on moving in with him. Bloody hell, calling emotional manipulation and lying your career is absolutely wild. This isn't some clever hustle or whatever. She's basically running relationship scams on people by feeding them fake abuse stories, fake reconciliation hopes, and fake emergencies to get money out of them. And if they decide to stop doing this, suddenly they become abusive too. And the craziest part, she's only 19 and she's already burning every bridge around her, family, relationships, all of that because she genuinely thinks being attractive means she should never have to contribute anything herself. And I think her parents putting their foot down in the end is probably the healthiest thing anyone's ever done for her in years because this kind of behavior will only escalate if nobody stops it. But our next story comes from the Entitled People subreddit from Can't Think of a Name and says, "My brother wants his cut of inheritance before my mum dies. My grandfather died recently, leaving his 3 kids, my mum, aunt, and uncle, a huge stack of unorganized inheritance. To give you an idea of how annoyingly tedious and stressful the whole thing was to deal with, a few of my aunts and uncles are already writing up their own will so their children, my cousins, don't have to fight over anything like the 3 are now. He was loaded, but with how scattered around his assets were, it was taking a while to get everything in order. So what ended up happening is they're starting with whatever homes. My mother didn't get much at first, but two of my older brothers convinced their siblings to give her at least $700K in cash and two of his old rundown houses, the one we're currently living in and another one nearby. Since there was more to be processed anyway, and my mum was losing money faster than she could make, eldest brother, who we'll call Archie, 37 male, is an unemployed, overconfident, narcissistic piece of shit no one likes. He has a kid and his wife is pregnant. Second is his twin, Ronnie, 37 male. He grew up to be a more responsible version of Archie. He recently got married and works a really well-paying job as a professor like our grandfather. I have another brother, 19 male, but he isn't important as he's off at college abroad. Archie was my grandfather's favourite grandson because he was the smartest growing up, but Archie himself only ever spent time with him as a way to get cash for whatever the hell he does all day. When he realised he didn't leave a will, he scrambled to get his hands on anything he could, thus playing lawyer with my mum's siblings and getting her 2 properties and money. This is where it gets blurry on my end since I was never allowed to be a part of family meetings, but from what I know from context clues is, Archie somehow convinced my mum to give him one of the houses, the one we weren't living in, since I was like Grandpa's son, I deserved something. Mum's siblings were calling bullshit and my aunt, lawyer, didn't want him to get anything or involve him in the meetings at all, but he kept weaseling his way in. My mother was just tired from everything and at that point agreed to give him the property as long as he paid for the restoration himself. He agreed and everyone was happy. Archie got the house but hired the same contractor my mum hired to work on her house. I have no idea why the contractor agreed to work both jobs at the same time despite the obvious lack of manpower, because what ended up happening was Archie would go to his house at 12 PM and watch the guys work, making sure they do their jobs, and leave at around 4 PM, and only then would they come back to work on my mum's house. With how things were going, the deadline kept drawing closer and closer and the house was still a leaky, poorly ventilated mess. Ronnie on the other hand had a whole business plan with my mum's $700K, but considering the plan was random stock trading, he'd already lost a lot of money and my mum didn't want to do it. He pushed for a few months, but each time my mum turned him down. Around 2 weeks later, turns out Archie was taking money out of the $700K in my mum's bank account. This was the final straw. She took the house back from him and kicked him out. Thankfully, Aunt wasn't done processing the property transfer documents yet, so it was easy for her to just reverse the whole thing. Archie came back a few times to demand his rightful share back. It got so bad to the point I had to step in and stop the guy from physically attacking my mother. He never landed a hit, but my mum was still scared of him. Yesterday, both Ronnie and Archie came over as a final attempt at salvaging what they could after Archie's outbursts, and they came to an agreement. Archie, Ronnie, college bro and me are all getting $60K. My mum thought it'd be easier to just give us all money so no one gets jealous of anyone else, but if anyone wanted any more money, it'd have to wait until she kicked the bucket. Archie was still mad about not getting anything, so demanded he get his cut of inheritance right then and there. At this point, Ronnie just wanted to go home and I was trying to study for entrance exams through his yelling and fake crying to my mother. He kept using his children as an excuse as to why he needed the money, but couldn't work for it apparently. He kept yelling about how he wished my mum would drop dead right there so he'd get his money, and Ronnie dragged him out of the house before he could do any real damage. Now my mum is cutting Archie out of the will with no chances of him getting back in. I'm still going to be living with her for her safety, and she's looking into getting a security system to keep Archie out. Her bank account's secure now. She put me in charge of watching it while she gets her affairs in order. I found the craziest part in the story is that Archie already got more than most people ever would, and still acted like he was being robbed. Convinced everyone to hand over a whole house early and immediately started draining his mother's bank account anyway. To me, it didn't come across as a desperate dad trying to provide for his kids, it just came across as greed mixed with entitlement. And then he was saying stuff like his mother should just drop dead already so he could get the inheritance, which is absolutely disgusting and worth cutting him off out of the family just for that alone. What do you guys make of this one? And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from NCC74656M from the Entitled People subreddit. It says, called the cops on me over a seat at Starbucks. I was once fixing a friend's phone at Starbucks. We both had drinks and hers was still there. She ran out to grab something and I needed to work on the phone. This entitled little twat waffle marches over and insists they must be allowed to sit there. Half a phone is spread between the 2 seats on the bench, by the way. I relay to them that the seat is in use and in any case, there's no space. They tried the "there's obviously no one here now" bit with a big stupid voice sarcasm, and then proceeded to sit anyway, and then move their arms like they were about to try and sweep these tiny little phone screws off the edge. I moved my arm to block them, while still holding this mini screwdriver in my hand. We argued back and forth for a hot minute, and it's clear they're not giving up, but I'm not done and not moving either. This little shit goblin picks up their phone and goes, "I'm going to call the police if you don't stop." I laugh and go, "Fine, go right ahead." So they fucking do. Right as I'm sitting there staring at me, they get this big shit-eating grin on their face and say, "And then she threatened to stab me with a screwdriver." I let out the biggest incredulous laugh and go, "You know that's fucking bullshit. You're trying to steal my friend's seat and then try to push a bunch of her stuff on the floor." So they get up and go outside and wait for the cops to show. Well, I just finished repairing the phone, considering that I was nearly done anyway. It didn't take long, and just as we wrapped up, the cops came. We started to leave and I just paused and went, "No, you know what?" and walked over to the cops. I'm like, "I'm the one this little psycho is talking about. Here's the tools I was working with. This is the phone I was just repairing when they tried to shove the stuff on the ground. Do you need me to stick around?" One of the cops just gives me an eye-rolling look like, "No, we know this one," and goes, "No, you're all good." And so we left. What's crazy is that a few years later I saw a post on a housing group in the area talking about exactly this kind of behavior, and much worse. Changing locks on roomies, throwing out stuff, etc., and warning people not to rent to this person, and posted a pic of someone who looked exactly like them. Is it necessarily the same person? I don't know, but it seems more than likely. The funniest part, and brought back a lot of memories for me, is the cops instantly recognizing the caller as that person. As I always say, when I grew up in the area that I used to live, there was a lot of those people that the police knew who would often call the cops or get the cops called on them for the most ridiculous reasons. And also the escalation in this is insane. It went from "I want that seat" to falsely accusing someone of threatening them with a weapon in like 90 seconds over a Starbucks bench. Absolutely wild. People like this are exhausting because they weaponize the authority whenever they don't immediately get their way, and fake "they threatened to stab me with a screwdriver" line could have went super bad. There is just some people out there that leave a trail of chaos wherever they go, and like I said, I knew a whole bunch of those type of people. But what do you guys make of this one? Let's have another story. Now, our next story also comes from the Entitled People subreddit and says, "You sure showed me. I'll just tear up this check for $3,500 and you get nothing. You lose. Good day." When I was a property shepherd for banks that foreclosed on properties, I was often asked to see if the occupants would accept money in exchange for surrendering the property in clean, intact condition and skipping the eviction. I had nothing to do with a foreclosure or eviction, and they used me because the lawyers charged hundreds of dollars an hour for that kind of thing. They prepared the offer. I presented it. If they said yes, the bank sent me a check. I inspected the house, and if it was clean and intact, handed over the check. Important note, there was an eviction clock running. If I did not report that they had complied with the agreement, the eviction would proceed. They did not stop the process unless I was successful. So I was helpless to grant extra time to move out beyond. The agreement says to be out by the 14th. You are working hard, the bank is closed, I can come back first thing in the morning, and if you are done, I'll release the check and tell the bank you complied. I was dealing with a couple in a 4,000 square foot house. They'd been fighting the foreclosures, then fighting the eviction, and the bank and lawyers were sick of them. I delivered the offer, $3,500 to be out in 2 weeks. It was explicitly clear that I was not from the bank. I was not from the lawyer's office. They showed up at my office anyway and tried to convince us to sell them the house. The house which was not for sale, which they couldn't afford, or they wouldn't be facing eviction, which wasn't ours. They didn't like any of those truths, said we'd better start checking under our car before starting it up, and stormed out. They wanted the money, and I always did what little I could to help people make the deadline. I always offered to come by a few days early and point out what needed to be clean. Normal wear and tear? No problem. Stained carpet? This isn't a security deposit, so unless it was fresh, intentional stain, I didn't care. Missing fixtures? That's a problem. Unswept floors? Problem. Bags of rotting food in the garage? You get the picture. I went over for a pre-inspection. Not even close. I pointed out what needed to happen. They asked if they could have the check now to hire cleaners, and they would totally have it ready in time. Being ugly, not stupid, I declined and said I would see them on the date they agreed to. I show up. They hadn't cleaned up anything since my previous visit. They demanded the check anyway. They worked hard to come up with excuses. They were tired after threatening to kill me with a car bomb. They needed the money for the down payment on another house. Won't I do them a favor? They will do anything for the check except clean. I marked them non-compliant and left, returning the check to the lawyer's office. A week later, the lawyer's office told me I was free to take possession of the house and start my processes. Still, lots of trash, grime everywhere, many missing light fixtures. Best of all, they had taken all of the towel racks and toilet paper holders, ripping them straight out the wall along with significant chunks of drywall. They sure taught me a lesson by damaging a house that wasn't mine, and for skipping at best 3 hours of cleaning, they lost out on $3,500. Even though they deserved that money for being stressed. Talk about shooting yourself in the foot. They had every chance to get $3,500 just to clean up after yourselves and leave without a formal eviction. It's genuinely generous, I think, compared to how ugly some of these situations can get. I don't know if they do that in the UK or not, this offering cash to get them out early or not, but I used to watch a lot of these landlord eviction programs and sometimes they get absolutely awful, really bad. And it seemed to me that OP was clearly trying to help them succeed, the pre-inspections, pointing out the issues early, and even offering, some flexibility within reason. And then they resorted to ripping out towel racks and toilet paper holders out the walls to leave big chunks of drywall missing. It's the usual attitude that you see in a lot of this, and I see it in these programs that I used to watch, that if I can't have it, nobody can. Toddler type behavior. It's like, congratulations, you destroyed drywall in a house the bank already owned and cost yourselves thousands of dollars in the process. Well done. And then it comes to the last comment, they deserved that money for being stressed. It really says it all, doesn't it? Everybody involved was stressed, I imagine. Most people don't respond by threatening car bombs and vandalizing bathrooms though. Bloody hell. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.